Hey everyone, before I dive into this story, let me pull you into a moment that cracked my world open. For 8 years, I believed my marriage was a tapestry of love, trust, and shared dreams, woven with every laugh and promise. I thought I knew my husband, the man whose steady hands anchored our home. Then, one quiet afternoon, a hidden truth unraveled that trust, leaving me to mend the pieces of my heart. What happened next wasn't about vengeance or despair. It was about rediscovering my strength, about choosing a life that celebrated me, not the lies I'd lived. Stick with me, because this story is raw, real, and will hit you right in the soul. Drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This one's going to stay with you. My name is Abigail Foster. I'm 39, a cookbook author living in Charleston, South Carolina, in a clapboard cottage where the front porch sighs under a veil of jasmine, its honeyed scent swirling in the humid breeze, and the backyard blooms with magnolias, their creamy petals unfurling, dusting the air with a sweet, citrusy hum. I'm not one for the spotlight. I find joy in the sizzle of my skillet, the rustle of recipe notes, or the chatter of friends at our monthly supper club. The air thick with shrimp and stories. But if there's one thing that's always defined me, it's my devotion to love. Growing up in Charleston's salty embrace, I learned family is a feast. Mom's gumbo simmering, its spicy warmth curling through the house. Dad's low country tales, his voice a steady hum like the Ashley River at dusk. That's the love I poured into my marriage, and when I met Daniel at 30, I thought he was my forever. Daniel was my haven, with a smile that glowed like marsh fireflies and a quiet strength that felt like home. We met at a farmer's market, the air buzzing with peaches and brine, bonding over a shared love of crab cakes. By our second date, I knew he was my partner. We married a year later in a magnolia grove under a Carolina sky, vowing to savor every season together. For 8 years, we built a life, buying our cottage, kayaking the marshes, dreaming of kids who'd chase fireflies in our yard. Every year, we hosted a supper club to mark our anniversary, setting the table with Mom's pewter chargers, their patina warm under candlelight, Daniel's laughter blending with my recipes. But last spring, a discovery in the shadows of our bedroom broke everything I thought we had. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought it was honest. Daniel, a history professor, spent his days lecturing, his tweed jackets dusted with chalk. But he'd come home with a kiss that tasted of mint and old books, sharing tales of curious students. I kept our life vibrant, writing cookbooks, the kitchen alive with garlic's sharp bite, planning supper clubs, arranging magnolias in vases, their petals a creamy vow. I'd slip recipe cards into a satchel, scribbled with love, and he'd bring me oyster shells from the marsh, their briny tang a nod to our wedding day. But a year ago, Daniel grew distant. He'd linger in his study, his phone glowing, the air heavy with ink and silence. "Just grading," he'd mutter, his voice clipped when I asked about his day. "Don't hover, Abby." I tried not to. I told myself it was stress. His tenure review was looming. But the distance deepened. He'd miss supper clubs, the dining room quiet without his stories, and snap when I teased him, his words sharp as the crack of a skillet on the stove. "You're always pushing," he'd say, his voice slicing through the dishwasher's hum. I swallowed my hurt, blaming myself for being too eager, and poured my heart into our home, polishing Mom's chargers, their patina cool under my fingers, baking cornbread, its golden scent warming the air, hoping to draw him back. But the cracks widened, and I felt him slipping, like a magnolia petal falling in the heat. Last April, as our 8th anniversary approached, I planned a supper club to reconnect, to remind us of our love. I invited our closest friends, Clara, my editor who loved Daniel's wit, Tom, his colleague who shared our kayak trips, and Lena, our neighbor who cooked with me. I wanted this night to heal us. But a week before, Daniel was more secretive than ever. He'd take calls in the study, the doors creak a sharp rebuke, and I noticed his desk drawer locked, a new habit. "What's in there?" I asked, my voice trembling, the magnolia on our counter wilting, its scent faint. He shrugged, his eyes dodging mine. "Old papers," he said, his tone flat. "Stop prying, Abby." My stomach churned, but I clung to hope, arranging magnolias, their creamy glow a fragile anchor. The day before our anniversary, I needed a pen for a recipe note, the kitchen thick with shrimp's briny steam. Daniel was at a lecture, his car's rumble fading, so I went to his study, the air heavy with ink and leather. His desk drawer was ajar, the lock loose, and inside, tucked beneath lecture notes, I found a bundle of letters, their envelopes yellowed, tied with twine. My heart stopped. They were addressed to Elise, his ex-wife, in Daniel's looping script, dated over the past year. "My heart still yours," one read, its ink smudged but searing. "I miss our talks, our life." Another, from last month. "Abby's so vibrant, but it's not you." I sank to the floor, the letter's paper crinkling in my trembling hands, the magnolia bouquet on the counter blurring through tears, its scent sour. 8 years, I whispered, my voice breaking. "And you're still hers?" I wanted to burn the letters, confront him, scream. But I didn't. I set them back, my heart pounding like a trapped bird, and retreated to the porch swing, the creak of the chains blending with the jasmine's honeyed sigh, the magnolias swaying in the dusk, their petals mocking me. The betrayal wasn't just the letters. It was the heart he'd kept from me, the love he'd reserved for another, while I built our life. But beneath the pain, a spark flickered. Not rage, but resolve. I couldn't let this define me. I had to reclaim my life, my heart, my worth. I didn't confront Daniel that night. I sat on the porch swing, the humid air chilling my skin, clutching a magnolia petal, its creamy silk wilting in my trembling fingers, its citrusy scent heavy with grief. The letters, "Elise, my heart's still yours," looped in my mind, each word a wound. I'd given 8 years, my recipes, my love, my dreams, to a man who'd held another in his heart. I thought of our supper clubs, the recipe cards I'd scribbled, now tainted by his secret. I could have torched his study, left, or exposed him to our friends. But as dawn broke, the magnolias glowing with dew, their creamy petals defiant in the mist, I heard Mom's voice in my soul. "Love doesn't dim you, Abby. It makes you brighter." I had to rise, not for Daniel, but for me. So, I decided to host a Savor the Soul supper club, not to celebrate our marriage, but to honor the woman I was, the cook, the writer, the dreamer, surrounded by those who saw my light. I wanted to fill our home with flavors, laughter, and Magnolia's sweet vow, to prove I was more than his betrayal. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, the air thick with the bitter tang of cold coffee, steam curling like a lost hope, the table's oak cool under my palms. I chose our dining room, where supper clubs had thrived, its chandelier casting prisms as the setting. I made a list: shrimp and grits, its buttery steam rising. Peach cobbler warm with cinnamon's spicy hug. Iced tea tart with lemon, and a playlist of our club's anthems. Norah Jones's Velvet Croon, Van Morrison's Soulful Ache. I called those who'd held me. Clara, who edited my words. Tom, who kayaked with us. And my sister Ellie, whose hugs smelled of marsh salt and steadied me after Dad's passing. I didn't tell Daniel about the letters. I needed this night for me first. He came home that evening, oblivious, his kiss faint, the chalk's dust clinging to him. "Supper club tomorrow, right?" he said, smiling. I nodded, my heart a stone, and kept the secret. I sent invites to our friends, framing it as a night to savor life's flavors. I spent the day cooking, the kitchen alive with shrimp's briny sizzle, cobbler's peachy clouds, the clink of Mom's pewter chargers, their patina gleaming like a low-country moon. I arranged magnolias in crystal vases, their creamy petals bold, their scent a sweet citrusy promise, and hung fairy lights in the dining room, their amber glow weaving through recipes, casting shadows on the cookbooks we'd loved. I set a framed photo of our first supper club, Daniel and I laughing, beside a magnolia sketch I'd drawn, its lines fierce. I wore a coral dress, its fabric flowing like a tide, a magnolia pinned to my chest, its fragrance a vow of rebirth. The supper club was set for our anniversary evening, the sky awash of sapphire and gold, the magnolias heavy with dew, their scent drifting through the open windows. I stood in the dining room, my heart racing like a river as guests arrived. Clara brought cornbread, its golden crust crumbling, her hug fierce. "You're a star, Abby," she whispered, her voice thick. Tom carried iced tea, its lemon tang sharp as hope, his grin warm. "This is epic," he said. Ellie squeezed my hand, her scarf soft, her voice breaking. "You're my hero, sis." Daniel arrived, his tweed jacket scuffed, confusion in his eyes. "Big setup," he said, his voice low. I met his gaze, my voice steady, the magnolia's scent anchoring me. "It's for me, Daniel. Stay or go. It's your choice." The night bloomed like the magnolias around us. We savored grits, their buttery warmth blooming on our tongues, broke cornbread, its crumbs scattering like gold, and clinked glasses of iced tea, the lemon leaves swirling. We shared stories, Clara about my cookbook drafts, ink staining our hands, Tom about our marsh paddles, oyster shells glinting, Ellie about our childhood feasts, sneaking gumbo under Mom's nose. I stood, my voice trembling but fierce, the fairy lights glowing, the magnolia's scent bold. "Thank you for being here," I said, tears streaming, holding up the supper club photo, its frame cool in my hands. I found love letters in Daniel's drawer, addressed to his ex-wife, 8 years into our marriage. It broke my heart. But I'm here to celebrate me, the cook, the writer, the woman rising. You see me, and I'm so grateful. Clara sobbed. "You're our fire, Abby." Ellie cried. "You're unstoppable, sis." Tom added, his voice thick. "You're enough, always." Daniel's face paled, his fork frozen, his voice raw. "Abby, I'm so sorry." He choked, tears welling, his hands trembling. "The letters were a mistake, a fantasy I never sent. I love you, and I've betrayed you. Please, let me explain." I met his eyes, my voice breaking, tears scalding my cheeks, the magnolia's scent sharp. "You broke me, Daniel." I sobbed, raw. "I gave you my heart, every recipe, every kiss, and you kept hers. I'm here for me now." Friends rallied, Clara's hug fierce, Tom's voice firm. "We've got you." As we ended, Lena's daughter Mia ran up, her sneakers scuffing, offering a drawing of me with a magnolia crown, its cream vivid. "You're so kind, Miss Abby," she chirped, her voice bright as dawn. I knelt, tears spilling, the paper crinkling. "Thank you, Mia," I choked. "I'm trying." I'd done it, reclaimed my heart, my home, my light, under Magnolia's sweet grace. The next morning, Daniel found me in the kitchen, washing Mom's pewter chargers, their patina glinting like a marsh at dusk, the air thick with coffee's roasted warmth, its steam curling like a fragile vow. "Abby," he said, his voice raw, trembling like magnolia branches in a storm. "We need to talk. Last night you were radiant, unstoppable. I was wrong to write those letters, to hold on to Elise. I'm so sorry, and I need you." I set down a charger, the magnolia sprig still pinned to my sweater, its petals curling but fierce, and faced him, my eyes burning. "You broke my heart, Daniel," I sobbed, my voice shattering, tears scalding my cheeks, the coffee's bitterness sharp. "I found your letters, your love for her, 8 years into our life. I gave you my soul, every dish, every magnolia, and you kept her in your heart. How could you do this to us?" He sank to his knees, his face crumpling, tears dripping like dew on magnolia petals, his scholar's hands trembling. "I'm so sorry," he cried, his voice breaking, raw as a fresh wound. "The letters were a fantasy, a way to escape my tenure stress. I never sent them, never reached out to Elise. You're my home, Abby, and I've destroyed you. I love you." I gripped the table, the charger's cool patina steadying me, my heart torn but firm. "Love doesn't hide," I choked, tears streaming, my voice raw, the magnolia's scent a lifeline. "You didn't just write. You chose her over me. Every word a lie through our suppers, our kisses. I carried us, and you broke me. I had to learn I'm enough without you." He reached for my hand, his fingers shaking, his voice desperate, pleading, thick with pain. "I see you now," he sobbed, his words heavy. "You're incredible, Abby, the strongest woman I know. I don't deserve you, but I want to fix this. Therapy, honesty, my whole heart. Please, don't let me lose you." I pulled back, the magnolia's scent bold, my heart aching but steady. "I don't know if I can trust you," I said, my voice cracking, tears warm. "You broke our life, Daniel, the home we built. I'm not the Abby who cooked for you. I'm choosing me, my strength, my joy." His shoulders shook, his voice a whisper, raw and broken. "You're right," he said, tears falling. "You're a light I dimmed. I'll fight for you if you'll let me. I love you." I thought of Mia's drawing, the magnolias in my yard, their creamy petals unyielding and softened, but my resolve held. "If we try, it's slow," I said, my voice steady, the chargers cool under my fingers. "Therapy, truth, no more secrets. But I'm not waiting for you to save me. I'm living, Daniel, for me." He nodded, his eyes desperate but grateful, his voice choked. "I'll do the work," he said, fragile but hopeful. "Thank you, Abby." Over the next weeks, my community held me close. Clara texted, "You were a queen, Abby." That supper club was magic. Ellie sent a jar of peach preserves, writing, "You're a force, sis." Tom called, his voice thick, saying, "You showed us courage, bold, radiant." Each message was a spark, rekindling my heart. Daniel started therapy, sharing notes, leaving his drawers open, but I kept my distance, needing space to bloom. I joined a writer's group, my pen dancing on pages, the air sharp with ink and possibility, my heart finding its rhythm. Mia's drawings stayed on my fridge, its crayon magnolias a beacon of my light. 4 months later, Daniel asked to meet. We sat at a cafe, the air heavy with espresso's roasted tang and the crackle of fresh biscuits, steam swirling from our mugs like whispered hopes, the magnolia pin on my jacket glinting under the morning's golden light. He looked worn but clear, like a marsh swept clean by tide. "Abby," he said, his voice thick, trembling like magnolia petals in a breeze. "Therapy's been brutal, but it's showing me why I betrayed you. I was lost, stressed, clinging to an old fantasy of Elise, and I hurt you, the woman I love most. I've cut all ties to her memory, and I'll carry that shame forever. I want to earn you back, to be the man you deserve." I studied him, tears pooling, my heart soft but steady, the magnolia's scent grounding me. "Daniel," I choked, my voice shattering, the coffee's bitterness sharp. "I gave you my soul. Every recipe, every magnolia, every supper was for us. You kept her in your heart, broke our trust. And I had to learn I'm enough alone. I'm open to trying, slowly, honestly, but I'm whole now. I don't need you to complete me." He reached for my hand, his fingers trembling, his eyes wet like dew on magnolias, his chalk-dusted nails catching the light. "I see you," he sobbed, his voice raw, breaking like a wave. "You're radiant, Abby, a strength I failed. I don't deserve you, but I'll try every day to be worthy. Thank you for this chance." I squeezed his hand, a fragile thread, and smiled, tears warm on my cheeks, the biscuits crackle a soft rhythm. "It's a beginning," I said, my voice soft, the coffee steam curling between us. "Not a vow." We started small, coffee dates, therapy sessions, supper clubs where we laughed, fragile but real, the air warm with cornbread's golden scent and trust's quiet bloom. It wasn't the marriage I dreamed, but it was honest, messy, and ours. That discovery, that pain, shattered me, but it set me free. It taught me that love isn't just devotion. It's truth, courage, choosing yourself when someone holds another in their heart. I stood up for Abby, not to break Daniel, but to honor the woman who cooks, who loves, who grows magnolias that bloom through any storm. As I sit here now, Mom's pewter chargers stacked neatly, their patina catching the sunlight, I feel her whispering, "You're enough, Abby. You always were." This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's faced a betrayal, who's felt their heart splinter, but chose to rise, to shine. Share your story in the comments. How did you find your strength after a lie? Your voice matters. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next story.